Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, with another cup of ordinary Sainsbury's. Very tedious, but never mind. I have been asked whether I could give advice to someone who is looking at metal fountain pens. Now, yes, I can. I can give lots of advice. Probably most of it will be utterly pointless and useless. But let's just work on the principle that some of my thinking might be of some help. And let's get started. Of course, if you find this interesting and you want to support the channel, hit the like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions or comments, please put them down the bottom. Now, I've got a whole bunch of fountain pens here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are all of my metal fountain pens, and they start with this little beastie, the Pilot Metropolitan, in black, and it had a special name, but don't ask me what the special name is, because this was given to me by my good friend Bernard Knight some years ago. He could not get on with it for quite a while. He was basically very unlucky with fountain pens. Every time he went abroad, he bought one. And he never quite got on with them. Even the Pelican Souverain that he had for a limited amount of time. He got the Souverain given to him as a gift because he's well known internationally as a forensic pathologist, and he won an award somewhere, and they gave him the pen as a reward, which was very nice. Unfortunately, shortly after he discovered, to his absolute horror, how much it cost, he lost it in a street in Cardiff. Probably got picked up by a refuse collector and put in the bin, because people don't treat pens with great respect. This, however, he gave to me, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of those pens I keep on me most of the time. Currently filled with a very delightful Earl Grey tea from, Earl Grey from Diamine. And it's got a wonderful juicy nib. It's very reliable, quite a soft writer, doesn't feel too harsh on any paper, and it always fires up. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, it will always write. So this I have seen modern equivalents, I think, for under £30, which makes this, for a metal pen, it is metal, I think astonishingly good value. I didn't think it would be good value until I started looking at the price of some of these other pens, and then I realised just what good value that little Pilot Metropolitan was. Let's move on. We'll go to an aluminium pen. This is a Kaweco AL Sport. Now, I must admit, I don't like this clip because I think it looks cheap and ugly. But the pen itself I adore. I've had this for quite some years, and it's a very clever size pen. You gauge it compared to the Pilot, for example, and it's tiny. Fits in a shirt pocket perfectly easily, but when you open it up and thrust it into the cap, it becomes a very sensibly sized pen. As you can see, it's bigger than the Pilot when it's capped, posted rather, not capped. If I post the Pilot, that ends up a bit longer again, but you know, that is a perfectly good size for daily use. And the fact is, it fits in any shirt pocket. Now, this comes in 3 variants. You've got this one, the aluminium version, is a very refined £63. I'm giving you prices here mostly from Cult Pens because they have the widest selection that I'm aware of. But many other companies on the internet sell these things. So this Kaweco in aluminium, which is a nice weight, it's not too heavy, but it feels robust. That's £63 now. It was £45 when I bought this, I think. They also do it in brass. I like brass. It's a nice tactile metal. And if you want it in brass, it's going to cost you £79. Ouch. But then again, they do it in stainless steel, which is £90, which is really quite a shock. That's a lot of money. I mean, you're getting a seriously usable pen that you can take everywhere and use anywhere. But even so, it's a lot of money for a stainless steel one. I'm amazed that the aluminium one is so much cheaper, quite honestly. So that's that. Then we move on to a ridiculously sized pocket pen, which is this, the Liliput. Now again, put it alongside the AL Sport. It's a lot shorter. Put it alongside the Pilot Metropolitan, and it's a ridiculously small size. These things are very clever though, because you unscrew it and you've got a pen that is ludicrously short, far too small to be able to use. But you can screw the cap onto the end and then it becomes perfectly usable. Now they actually have two versions of this. There's this, the standard Liliput, and then they've got a Supra, which gives you an extension section in here, so it is actually quite a bit longer. Why would you want a longer version? Right, to me, if you want a really small pocket pen that you can take with you anywhere, that is ideal. Takes up no space. You can get it with a cartridge converter now that Cult Pens will sell you perfectly happily, no doubt charging an exorbitant fee for it, but normally this is used with cartridges. But it's convenient, it is small, it's got a decent weight to it because it is solid brass, and it has that brass smell to it, which is slightly odd. I am peculiar, but it's a lovely pen to play with. And it's quite a good fiddly pen, you know, it's the sort of thing that it's like a small bar of brass that you can just play with. Now, of course, these things do vary in price. The brass one, like this, is now either $69 for this or $95 for the Supra, which is that bit longer, about an inch longer, I think. But they also do it in a couple of other versions. They do a steel one, which is, again, more, £75, or if you want the Supra, $115. But that's nothing, because what they also have is they have a steel version which is worked on by the owner of Kaweco of an evening, and what he does is he gets the plain steel version, which has smooth flat sides, not ribbed like this one, and he sits downstairs with a Bunsen burner and heats up each of them so they get slightly oxidized and go a bit blue and sort of different colors of all sorts. Those ones will set you back £140 for one of these, or £175 for the Supra version. Who's going to pay that? Just because the boss of the company is, well, probably quite a few people to be fair, but I don't understand it. Now, I've got to come to this next one because I think it should be, I don't know. This is the Bastion. Now, the two pens I carry with me most commonly are the Pilot and the Bastion. I was sent this by Bastion to review some time ago, and I absolutely love it. It is steel, I think. It's a good weight. I love the looks. It has that sort of everyday carry. You know, if somebody attacks me, I'll fight him with my pen. This thing will probably do some damage, or not. It has a really good clip, very well designed from that point of view, and it has this slightly strange shaped body. It won't post at all, but it has this nice section with a series of metal engravings that mean that when you hold it, your hand won't slip down, even though there's no flaring at the top end to stop your fingers going down. Those rings work really well. It's another cartridge converter style pen. It is incredibly robust feeling. It just gives you a feeling of absolute satisfaction that it's not going to leak or do anything nasty. If I had a negative about it, it is that, well, there's two negatives. One is you have to turn it quite a lot to shut the cap on. But yeah, it's a minor thing. What I do love about it is the look. I mean, look at that. It looks like it's just one piece of metal. You can't see the join. You really have to look very closely to find a join. What's the other thing I dislike about it? I can't find them for sale. It looks like Bastion might have discontinued them and they're only doing ballpoints and pencils now. And if that's the case, that's really sad, because I think these, the Bastion, you can see there, are really good. I should apologise. I am being blinded by that light there because it is night. I'm having to do this now because I've got an appointment with the arm surgeon to make sure that this is all functioning, which it seems to be, but you know, they like to keep track of things. So that was the Bastion. Right, I'll move further along now. This, I am fairly certain is metal. I'm not absolutely certain, but I think it is. It feels like it. I don't know what sort of metal it's made of. I would assume it is probably a steel. I don't know. And it is a Pilot Capless. Now, if you're new to fountain pens, this is the nearest thing you're going to get to a ballpoint. You just press the end and the nib comes out of the top. And it is a very efficient, I mean, pardon my French, but it's just a bloody good pen. Pilot do make very good pens. It's got an interesting filling mechanism. You can use it either with Pilot's own ink cartridges, or you can load it from a cartridge converter. Either way, it is not too heavy, but it feels a good weight in your hand. There's one negative about it, which is if you're doing a long writing session, having that clip where your finger has to go takes some getting used to. I find that my finger sits alongside the clip. Other people write with their finger right on top. I just find that awful. But it does have a lovely, smooth flowing nib. It works extremely well. I haven't found an ink that it doesn't like yet. And I think they look very nice. I know that the lady who was Cult Pens used to be owned by a couple, and the wife of the couple always used to love these, and she always had a Pilot in her pocket. The only downside to these is if you want a standard metal one, we have jumped up in price a bit, £210. If you want a really flashy metal one, a Raden lacquered metal one, you're looking at double that, 420. So I can't imagine I'll ever be able to afford one of them. I do love the idea of Raden. It's one of those things that looks so nice. Oh, I forgot one. This is for those of you who are a little more experienced perhaps, but it's only £85. I say only £85. Only £85 is not bad value compared to some of these other pens, is it? And it's this. You've seen me talk about this before. This poor little pen has been in my pocket regularly and has got chipped and scratched and all sorts, which means I'm actually even more fond of it than I was. It is the Tom Studio pocket pen. And you just pull it out, turn it round, and it slots in. And you have an incredibly comfortable full-size pen. Now, you've got a number of nibs you can get with this. Tom, I forget his surname, but Tom, who owns Tom's Studio, is married to a lovely lady who is a calligrapher. And he started getting into pens to satisfy her demands for a good for a good pen to write with. And he came up with this design as well as a number of others. He does all sorts of pen, including pens that have removable tips, nibs that come from Japan, sort of fibery tips, if you know what I mean. And you can refill them with ordinary fountain pen ink, reuse it as many times as you want. You can replace the nibs, use it as many times as you want. He's just very dedicated to the idea of not having a disposable society. This feels glorious. All of this is the reservoir. It does take cartridges if you want to use them, standard universal ink cartridges, which makes life easier. But if you want to, you can fill that with 3 or 4 cc's, I imagine, of ink, and it'll keep going for ages. Now you've got a number of different nibs, but this is a semi-flex titanium nib. They also do a full flex nib. I wouldn't bother. This semi-flex is absolutely fantastic. It's easy to write with. If you want to scribble a quick note, it'll do that. But if you really want to do some flashy writing on a postcard to send home, then this nib will do it as well. Absolutely brilliant to use. So practical. So easy. And I do like the fact you can stand it up like that on its butt because it has a nice ground base. I do like the fact it'll fit in one of my zip-up pockets in my cargo trousers whenever I'm going out. And this is almost always with me. I'll have my Pilot Metropolitan or some other pen as well, but this is always in my pocket. Currently filled with Israel Seeblau, whereas the Bastion has got Roller und Klingner Scabiosa, dark red, and the Pilot Metropolitan has got Earl Grey from Diamine. So these are the 3 pens that I'm currently using, fully inked up. Let's move on. Now, another slightly cheaper pen is this, the Faber-Castell Loom. And it's an interesting design. The main body is metal. I think the cap could be metal, but I think it's probably plastic. But I thought I'd mention this because Faber-Castell are one of those companies that it's hard to ignore. They have interesting designs always. And this is an interesting design. It has ridges instead of the Bastion, which has those cut out circles. Oh, I should mention the Tom Studio. You won't see it here, I don't think, but this has tiny little engraved lines going all the way around it. It doesn't slip out of your hand even if it's really hot, and it works extremely well. This, on the other hand, doesn't work as well as the Tom Studio. Now, I believe these start at around £70 if you find them. It's another one of those pens that I think might be a little bit out of date. More to the point, I've hardly ever used it. Now, the reason for that is that there are several reasons. One is, to be absolutely honest, I don't like those looks much. There's something about the roundedness of the cap and then the squared off section that just doesn't quite appeal to me. But that's not the main thing. The main reason why I never really got on with this was that every time I tried to use it, the damn thing leaked. And it leaks from somewhere around here. I don't know where. As a writing pen, it felt very nice. A little bit over slippery in my hand. So I can't recommend it. I mean, those are a few real no-nos. Lamy are famous for their pens, and this is a Lamy 2000 in metal. They do lots of plastic versions. This is the metal version. Rather similar in look, that clip, to the Faber-Castell, but this is much better. It's actually a sprung clip. You can see it all moving there, and it will hold to a shirt pocket or something with the greatest of ease. Open it up, it will post. It has one of these tiddly little fine nibs that's mostly enclosed, and it has this beautiful, elegant little brushed stainless steel body. It has an odd filling system, I think, where you unscrew the cap and then, I'm not going to do it now because it's already 19 minutes in, but basically it's a strange type of, I think, piston mechanism for pulling up ink, which is fine. That's nice. And it is beautifully manufactured, as you would expect from a good German company. But I have very rarely used it, and the reason why is that gorgeous little body. It is slippery as hell. I cannot hold it empty with. This is a cold, late autumn, early winter's evening. It is not warm in this house, and my fingers cannot get a grip. It's just impossible. If I was to grip it hard, my fingers would just slip straight down. It's beautiful. It is a piece of real style over functionality. I can see German business people wearing it proudly in their pockets. And frankly, I can also see them carrying a biro of some sort because it'll be a damn sight easier to use. So, sorry, Lamy. For this model, 245 quid. £245. It's beautiful. I can see how a German company can justify the expense. 2 more pens, I think. Yes, 2 more. This one is one that is one of my favourite writers. The Cross Peerless 125. It feels really glorious. It's got a lovely feel to it. It's gold plated. It is beautifully finished. It has, I think, a sailor nib. I'm not absolutely certain of the make of the nib, but I believe from what I read when it first came out, it was a sailor nib. This is not something I bought. This was sent to me by Cross because they saw some of my videos about Cross pens I have bought in the past, and I was very complimentary about Cross because they were so helpful whenever I had a problem with the pens. This is not a pen I've ever taken out and played with, mainly because I think it looks really gaudy. I mean, it's got a Swarovski crystal in the top. Not that you'd see, because it's so heavily recessed, it can't catch the light or do anything. So why bother? Oh, I suppose it's catching a bit of a... But the main thing for me is that is just, I think, bulky, unattractive, deeply unappealing, and, as I say, gaudy. Take that off, and I think it's actually a very beautiful pen. If only that was a bit more subtle and refined or elegant. If it was a really slim cap that came down and worked there, that would be much better. As I say, it's one of the best writers I've ever used, though. It's a lovely pen to write with. Making this video, however, I did decide I'd check all the prices, and that's how I've kept a running tally of all the prices for you. And to my absolute appalled shock, if you want one of these now, it'll set you back either, well, it'll start at £850, and if you don't get one at that money, you're looking at over 1,000. Just going to put it down very carefully now so I don't scratch it. 1,000 quid. That is ridiculous. However, which is my favourite metal pen? It is still this, my Conway Stewart Drake. Doesn't look special. Well, it's silver, and it is literally solid silver. If I demonstrate here, you can see how thick the lump of silver is. It is literally solid. There is no other metal in that. It's just silver. It has this beautiful rhodium coated tip with a little bit of the gold of the nib showing through for the Conway Stewart logo, which I think is lovely. and then it has a solid silver cap. It has this guilloche pattern all over it. It has a picture of Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind, in the top, and the bottom has nothing at all. There's nothing to say it's a limited edition or anything. I don't care. It feels quite magnificent. It is a solid pen. It's got a really good weight. It has a clip that does work. And it's the pen that I bought when I had to give up shooting some time ago because of the changing gun laws, and I wanted to buy something that would remind me of my sport. So I wanted to invest the compensation money in something that would be similarly beautifully made to my old guns, and this is the thing that caught my eye. Now, back when I bought this, which is 20 odd years ago, it was £500 then. If you were to find one today, I would assume it would be well over the £1,000 mark. But it is a pen that is stunning to use, beautiful to look at, and I just adore it. It is easily my favourite pen. It's obviously not a pen I carry with me every day. I'll lose the damn thing, just like Bernard lost his Pelican Souverain. But as a result, my daily carries are these two. Both solid, both, I think, very elegant, simple but beautiful looking, and quite adorable. So there you have it. That is my list of my top 10 pens that I have in my collection, or top 10 plus 2 which aren't really my tops. But it's a shame. I'm going to have to try that Lamy again. I won't try the Faber-Castell again because, as I said, damn thing leaks. But the Lamy is a gorgeous looking pen. The only trouble is, as I said, it's so slippery. So slippery. I mean, it's beautiful, but how can anybody grip it? Whereas this, you can grip that very easily and write with it. So there you have it. If that was remotely helpful, do please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, then please subscribe. And anybody with questions or comments, if you put them down the bottom, that helps with the algorithm on YouTube, and we can't forget the algorithm, can we? So thanks a lot for that. There's a little video of dogs coming up, but in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. I wasn't expecting that.